And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For your rugby news show, it is a Thursday. It is the last rugby news show of the week. And quite an interesting one because Australia have announced their squad for the two Springbok tests. We've got Stormers with a new signing, for example. And we've got an interesting story about Rassie Erasmus. So plenty to cover in the next sort of half an hour as we sort of recap exactly what's going on over the week. And yeah, it's a bit frustrating this weekend. No Springbok rugby. However, there is the under-20 series. We won't be covering it, unfortunately, but that is some rugby for you to watch. It's all going to be shown on YouTube as well, so you don't have to worry about subscription stuff like that. So that should be able to get your rugby fix from the under 20s, and always good to see. Oh, not under 20s, under 18s, SA schools, rather. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a quiet weekend, but I think it will be a nice sort of break, I suppose, maybe to sort of get ourselves back amped for the rugby championship, and also a bit of time for us to sort of calm down a little bit maybe and sort of reassess really, because I think that's the big thing that we've sort of been doing this week, because we've kind of been sort of re-looking at last weekend and sort of trying to identify where the areas where there are really issues and what we need to improve on and stuff like that. Big selection course to make in the next week. The Springbok team will obviously be announced on Tuesday next week, so we'll obviously have that all live and stuff like that. But yeah, a very interesting team to see. So Monday's live show will probably be dedicated towards sort of trying to predict and trying to guess what kind of team we're going to be putting out on Tuesday against the Wallabies to try and win in Australia for the first time. So I think it's 2014. So it's not a place where we go and we win games very often. But if there's ever a good time to do it, then it will probably be now. So we'll start with the Rassie Erasmus story now. We haven't had this confirmed, and the Springboks are set to fly out today to Australia. But the story is, and the rumors are, that Rassie Erasmus is set to board the plane with the rest of the squad, and he will travel to Australia and be with the squad for the next sort of 2 weeks, as well as the week in Argentina. Now, first of all, from a World Rugby perspective, he is allowed to do that. He is allowed to travel with the team. He's allowed to train with the team. He's allowed to be in team meetings. He is not allowed to be at the stadium on match day. He's not allowed to be involved in match day activities. So he can't zoom in, for example, and chat to the coaching staff while the game is actually happening. When they leave the team hotel, he has to go to his hotel room or a local pub. He has to watch the match on the stream, and he can't talk to them. That is the extent that he can be involved. But yeah, again, there's nothing to stop him training with the squad. There's nothing to stop him being there, and that is why, for example, we put that clip out that he was in that team meeting, and that he put the video on Twitter where he was talking about what they learned from the second test. That is why he was at Mbombela Stadium during the build up to the first All Blacks test, where he was running around, he was training with them, because he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to be with the squad, and I think it's quite important that we recognize that fact, because I think, and everybody's just saying, oh, you're just trying to defend Ninaba, which is not really the case. I just want to make sure that people understand the setup. So if you're going to criticize people, criticize the right people, and be informed before you throw out your criticism, because we still see criticism saying that Ninaba is out of his depth, and we need Rassie back, and Rassie never left. Even with his ban, Rassie never left. And Rassie Erasmus is still, the buck stops with Rassie. He, again, and I quoted, somebody was sitting there saying, do you have any concrete evidence that he is involved in team selection, stuff like that? And he has said it himself. When the roles were announced, when Jacques Ninaba was announced as the Springbok head coach, Rassie Erasmus has said that nothing has changed from a coaching perspective, in terms of who's responsible for the results, who's responsible for team selection, stuff like that. He said that, but Ninaba will be taking a much more hands-on role in the sort of the operational side of things, which means that he'll help he'll run more practices, he'll run more sort of logistics, stuff like that, analysis, stuff like that, which sort of frees up a little bit of time for Rassie Erasmus to sort of focus on his director of rugby role and sort of the broader landscape of SA rugby. So from the sounds of it, I think certain aspects have been handed over to Jacques Nienaber to try and free up Rassie's plate, but he still is, the top of the top with regards to the Springboks. He still will be, deciding on strategy. He still will probably have, the final sort of say when it comes to team selection and stuff like that. And he did say himself, he is responsible for the results. So when things aren't going well, he is responsible for them, just as he is responsible for them when things are going very well. So again, that's something that's quite important to clear up. I do think it'll be a good thing that he'll be on tour with them. I think it's probably been quite frustrating for the team to have someone who is giving their input and stuff like that, and then they can't sort of give their input in the change room at half time and stuff like that. So yeah, and that will change in the end of the series. So we probably won't see him. I don't know exactly what date the official ban ends, the stadium ban and stuff like that, but he will be allowed to be involved in match day activities in October. Well, from October moving forward, at the very least, which means the end of your tour, he can be in the stadium. Whether he'll be in the coaching box, whether he'll be on the sidelines like last season, where everybody's having an absolute meltdown, is yet to be confirmed. We don't know where he'll be, but he will be there on match day activity, and we know that he will be there because he's put a tweet out saying that he misses it so much. So he is going to be there with the squad, hopefully, from the sounds of it, in Australia. But again, he won't be there on match days. So going to some of the comments. Tony Shaw saying, do you know when the Springboks are having the third test match against New Zealand? Well, they're not. Albie says it'll be so good to have him out with the squad, and say 59% win percentage is not the consistency or promised by Rassie, 100%. Versus one-time New York Mets manager Bobby Valentine once got thrown out of a game by an umpire and then reappeared in the dugout wearing dark glasses and a fake moustache. Those are all the memes that were going around last year. But yeah, probably won't be appearing as a water boy because they have now sort of changed all the rulings so that he can't. I mean, literally, they might as well call it the Rassie Erasmus rule, which means that I think we'll probably see him back in the coaching box. What would be interesting though is if he's in the coaching box, Jacques Nienaber also has to be in the coaching box. So because you can't have your head coach on the side of the field, so you probably find that Don Human will continue to be sort of pitch side. And you'll have Felix Jones, Dwayne Diastick, Jacques Nienaber, and Rassie Erasmus in the coaching box itself. And usually a player running the water. We've seen Juan Steyn do it. Alton Yankees does it quite often. You can't be a physio unless he's a qualified physio. So that's why Jacques Nienaber, it was actually quite intelligent by the Springboks during the World Cup. So because Jacques Nienaber is a qualified physio, he can be a medic. He can be part of the medical team. So you had your defense coach who pitch side during the World Cup. I mean, how cool is that? The fact that he can talk to you guys on the side of the pitch. He can talk to you guys at things, although they have now limited when you can actually get instructions and stuff like that from people. And, water can only come on at certain carrying times because they would want to try and reduce that sort of interaction. But, and it's interesting because some people are saying, well, just do what you do in football. Have a technical zone where you can and can't be. And then say, right, that's it, and it'll be interesting to see if coaches do stay pitch side, for example, or whether they will continue to sort of be in their box and stuff like that with their radio sets. So whatever the right way to go about it is, you won't have either of those two on the side of the field in October, one imagines. But yes, so he will be, from the sounds of it, he will be on tour, which is a big boost for the side, and yeah, hopefully we will see we will see him on match day activity in October. But before we look at the side that we might sort of choose, the Wallabies have announced their squad for the 2 tests against the Springboks. And there's quite a lot of news regarding the squad. First of all, there is no Michael Hooper. So Michael Hooper has not returned to the squad. So we will not see Michael Hooper against the Springboks, which from a Springbok point of view is quite good. Not the circumstances that we'd like him to miss out on, but they are missing out on a hell of a player. So the fact that we don't have to worry about contending with Michael Hooper is a bit of a boost to the side. However, the Wallabies will also welcome a lot of players back from injury. because Andrew Kellaway, Angus Bell, Scott Seo, Alan Alatoa, David Parecki, Falal Fainga, as well as Hunter Basami will all return from injury against the Springboks. So that is, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players, that's half a team, have returned from injury. But Craig Cooper and Noah Lulisio are out. James O'Connor didn't play particularly well at fly half, and as a result, Bernard Foley has returned to the fore, which is quite interesting actually. Because the other day I was watching the the Australian. I was like, what? I was actually wondering. I was like, I wonder where Bernard Foley is. But he is back, and he's a quality player. So that's a massive boost for the Wallabies. Some people are talking about the fact that maybe they might see the return of a Kurt Beale, but nothing from that. So we wait and we see if that'll ever happen. But they have confirmed the squad for the Springboks. It's a good start. It's a very good squad. Before we go that, I'm just going to go and check some of the comments. I tend to say give me the bus driver. Tommy Ludick says, I think we need to cut them some slack with their win percent. We missed 2 years of rugby. I'm sure they had to rework all their plans. Obviously, says it's a stupid law. The coach can't be pitch side in France. It's allowed. Rassie Erasmus should be the Minister of Sports, whatever that is. Look, it's not wasting with politics. Sean says it's weird, isn't it, that coaches can't be pitch side, but when you look at other sports, the coaches are on the side of the lines. Pretend St. Paul needs to be good. I'm telling you now that Bernard Foley will start. So our defense and our area skills need to be good. Do you think it's a risk playing Moody or Galant against Corabetti? I don't think it's a risk playing. I mean, I think Caden Moody will be all right. I think he's defensively pretty sound. But there could be issues with them. Josh Melinda, thank you so much for the super chat saying, I'll be at the game in Sydney telling all the Box fans to subscribe to Better Sports. I'd love to see Moody get a game against Oz. Are you worried he's too young? Keep the great content. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat. Second of all, thank you for spreading the gospel. And third of all, it's a really difficult one when it comes to young players because some players can be ready at that age. Some players do take a bit longer. We've seen how Damien Williams has really come of age. So the one thing that I'll say about Caden Moody is that it's a bit like what I was saying with Ruan Fenter from the Lions. There are certain players who who look sort of physically ready. They're physically very mature and they don't look out of their depth from a physical and an experience point of view. And he has been like that for the Bulls, where he's kind of taken to this level like a duck to water. And there's been very few cracks that have really sort of come through at a young age. And defense is always the big question, isn't it? Physically, can you contend at 19 years old with players who are 28, 29, and been in the game for, 8 years, are at their physical peak, for example? Can you contend with that? And you won't know until you know, isn't it? You won't know if Caden Moody's ready for international rugby until he plays international rugby. What I will say is that when he was playing for the Bulls, he was one of the best players on the pitch quite regularly. So he looked very comfortable at that level, and this is the next step up. So, I don't think he would be a deer in headlights if he were to start. He looks a very mature player. But I always worry at playing young players a lot at a young age because injuries do creep in, and sometimes confidence is a big thing, and the biggest thing is what you don't get with young players quite often is consistency. So they do tend to be quite inconsistent. We saw that with Jaden Henderson to a certain degree. We saw a very, very assured, mature performance from him in the first test. And then we saw his kicking game kind of slip up in the second test. And you will get that with young players. And you've got to understand that is a risk you're going to take, and you've got to be willing to be patient. So if we're going to see Caden Moody play, and he's going to play a couple of games, we've got to expect that there probably will be a bad game in there. There might not be. He might just sit there and just start dropping 8, 9 out of 10s every week. It could happen. Not saying it can't happen, but it's quite often that young players come with a bit of inconsistency. They haven't played at this level very long. There are sometimes things that happen that they haven't experienced yet. Whereas by the time you've played 10 years of rugby, you've pretty much experienced everything that you might experience. And that's why you sort of generally hit your peak in your sort of late 20s, when you've got 5 or 6 years of experience, so you know exactly what could happen, and you've learned to dealt with. You've made mistakes, you've had big beatings, you've had big victories, you've hopefully won something here and there, and you kind of settled within your game. At a young age, sometimes you look to over impress, sometimes you overplay, sometimes you are maybe not as street smart or street wise and ready for some of the opportunities. So you know, there comes you got to take the good with the bad. So I do think that he would be okay if he were to play. Again, I'm always nervous with playing young players a lot from a young age because we've seen players who've broken down, um, and whose bodies have never really managed to sort of make the step up. You know, Johan Claesson was a prodigious talent, and has just had injury after injury and after injury. You know, even Andre Pollard had his fair share of injuries. Somebody who started out playing quite young. So that can be a bit of an issue when you play players very young and you overplay them and they don't get rest, and you know they because they're young they feel that their body can recover a lot quicker, which it can to a certain degree, but you also need to be able to manage it. So the nice thing is I feel that we've got a Springbok coaching staff and an environment which are managing players pretty well. Although some players do look a bit tired, so maybe need to look at a bit of rotation. But I think he is pretty solid and pretty ready to play at his level. I think I'll be surprised if we were to see him to start next weekend. I must admit, I still think we'll probably see JC Creel, which people have a meltdown about. I've said my words about JC Creel. I think a lot of his criticism quite unjustified and quite unfair, especially criticism on his game last week when he said that defensively he was a liability because he missed one tackle, he made one tackle. You know, so people said they're saying well, his defense is just not there anymore. You know, he in the same pasture play, Pollard missed the same tackle on the same player, and I don't see anybody jumping up and down saying Pollard's defense is finished and he needs to stop playing. You know, but some of the comments say David Malherbe say that Kenny Moody should start. Eno says he's proven that against Leinster. He's physically ready. Most of the attack coach, not always, but the majority of time. I think he's talking about players who are on the side of the field. He basically played against the Irish national side's backline against Leinster. Contender saying, if you want to be assured, I would play I'm on the wing and Plant at 15 with Williams at 12 and Estes at 13. Contender, just once, can you just put players in their normal positions? Like, why would you take the best outside centre in the world and start him on the wing? When we saw how defensively this thing. Esterhuizen is a 12. Willemse is a 12. Delinde is a 12. Technically, the only other 13 we have, natural 13, is JC Creel. So, you know, that would be your other option for 13. Man loves to tinker a couple of players. Just say, you know what, he played there once, so we can just go start him. I wouldn't mind seeing Willemse at 12. I don't think we'd see Galant at 15, though. I think that Billy LaRue could very well start at 15 next week. And must admit, I really enjoyed the Billy LaRue, Damien Willemse combo that we saw. I think that I think those two were playing pretty well together. So I'm keen to see what they can do going forward. And I think having two playmakers on the field was quite exciting. So Caden Moody's also he played center at school a bit, but I mean, come on, you're not going to he hasn't even played center at URC level, so he maybe later on in his career he might move to 13. He could move to 13. He's definitely got the physical attributes, but you're certainly not going to throw him out on in a Springbok game at 13 and say, off we go. It's very, very often that players who outside centers start on the wing and sort of move back in there. You saw Jesse Creel on the wing to 13. That's why, and that's why players, like I can move them from the 13 to the wing. 13 to 14 and 15 are players that are positions which sort of can move in, but you generally will start at 14, then go to 15 or go to 13. Very rare that unless you've been playing in that position out and out, that you can't. So, I'm not saying that Moody will never play 13, but he's not going to play 13 now. You're not going to go start him at 13 next weekend. Maybe in a couple of years' time. Once he's got 30, 40 tests under his belt, and maybe he starts playing 13 for the Bulls week in, week out, then you can start playing 13 for the Boks. But, yeah. So Sean must say, Dad said Nani was a wing before he was a center. Yeah, but I think you've just nailed it. He was a wing before a center, so Moody is now a wing. Will he become a center? Maybe, but not right now. I would trust I'm a wing defensive solid create nothing. I'm very sure you'll take that if you do. What about your opinion on possible? But you see, I'm not worried about Lakanya. I'm on wing. I'm worried about who plays 13. Um, you know, people when the reason a lot of it, I mean, a lot of it when people are saying that I'm at the wing was the issue with the defense, not because his defense was prepared, but we didn't have a 13 who was a natural 13, and defensively 30, your 13 is so important to your defense. So not having at that position was a massive loss to us. So yes, I'm sure Lakanya will be phenomenal in the wing, but we lose him at 13. We don't have a good enough 13 or better 13 or a reasonable 13 at in the squad. So play at 13 and play a wing on the wing. Or play Creel on the wing. I don't mind playing Creel on the wing. I generally don't. I mean, again, lots of people don't like it. I really don't mind it. I think it's very overrated how bad he is. So Dale says, anyone concerned about burnout? Squad together for 3 years now. This is supposed to be preseason, but they're playing right through it. David Delenda, Etzebeth, Ludiaga, and Banambi look tired to me. So I think we're going to see them get rested against Argentina, I think that, we were going through the press release yesterday, and Nialba was saying that they basically want to split the squads, and they want to use one set of players for Australia and another set of players for Argentina. So I personally think we're going to see our normal team in the next 2 weeks, and then I would like to see players who have played a lot of rugby, your Etzebeth, your David Delendes, your, Luat Diagas, leave them out for Argentina and say, right, you guys have played, go have a month off, and then go to a month getting back into sort of things with your franchise and stuff like that, and be charged for the end of year tour. So, and then I hope that we will see Estes in that inside center for 2 games against Argentina. We can see Galante at fullback for 2 games against Argentina. We can see Willemse. Although he also needs a break, having said that, we can see Evan Roos playing, we can see Albert Lowe playing, we can see Marcel Instukan playing, we can see Thomas Toy playing, Joseph Derby can play more. The players who haven't played a lot can play in those other Argentine games. But David said it would have been great if the Stormers signed Villy. Then we could actually develop the 3 playmaker with Mani Willemse 12 and Villy. Oh, but I'd be very upset if you did that, because I'd have to watch that as a non-Stormer supporter, and it would make me very sad. It would be a very good sign if they had signed Villy. I'm just waiting for that Colby confirmation, because I mean his daughter's at school. He's been doing everything in Cape Town. He's supposedly bought a house in Cape Town, stuff like that. And John Dobson keeps speaking about the fact that they signed a very big player. So we know it's a current Springbok, so we all know that it's kind of basically confirmed that's Colby, and yet we're sitting in August. We're less than a month away from the start of the URC, and yet they haven't made the announcement. So interesting to see what will happen there. Jaden says, Pollard seems to be on the right track at the moment. Villiers is still the best 15 in the country. Create space around him, which none of our other players can do. De Villiers played wing before he played center. Stain played contender. Just put people where they belong. Delenda needs a rest, so we could see Phillips 13 and 14. Yes. Now you're on it there, mate. There you go. That's a nice backline. 12 Phillips, 13 and 14 Moody. And I know that players can move, but right now, as I said, Moody will start at wing, then he can go to center. Lakanya Arms your best 13, play him at 13. Dan Delenda needs a break, that's fine. Phillips 12. Now I'm with you. there. Daniel says, similarly will replace Creel at the end of your next UR season. You heard it here first. Yeah, I could very well do it, especially if Jake White sorts them out defensively, which I think he will. It is Billy Rue's birthday today. Happy birthday to the GOAT. Dale said, who plays in the engine room instead of Evan Etzebeth and Ludiaga in the second squad? Well, we could see Salman Murat and Ruan Okia. We could see Marvin Ori coming in there. We could see Franco Mostert playing there. So those are your options. I'd be interested to see a Salman Murat Ruan Okia combination, because I think that could very well be a combination in about 4 or 5 years' time, if both of them live up to their potential. So there are a couple of options that we haven't seen much of. Taylor says, maybe send Jaden Henderson to the line so we can build a post-23 hotback combo. Yeah, you know what? That is exactly what needs to happen. But I can tell you right now, what will happen is that Jordan Henderson will go to the Sharks. Man's got a Rock Nation contract. He's going to go, and I'm sure he'll go to the Sharks. And it's going to just make me very sad. I might shed a tear. 4-2. Chesna's going to Ceylon, bro. He reacted to the new jersey for the new season. Well, if he did, I missed that, but I'm a bit confused. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. Where is that? No, I haven't seen anything about that. But yeah, I mean, even necessarily reacting to a jersey isn't necessarily the confirmation. I can still see it moving to Cape Town. I genuinely could. As I said, Storm has said that they've signed somebody who is a massive name. He was in Toulon training with them, but he's not training at the moment. So how's he training with Toulon if he's not training? I mean, literally the last weekend, he was in wherever he was, surprising that fan with tickets. And I think, the guy had to get a flight from Cape Town, so he was in Cape Town doing it on Saturday. He's got a broken jaw, so how was he training with them? But yeah, Warwick has played waiting for the box, so he is an option. The biggest problem is everybody will have the same sort of thing as everybody else. You know, is can he do it on the is he defensively good enough? And I'm looking at the tweet that you sent me, Dave, but I'm not convinced that was now. You know, I mean, I know that they've posted it 3 days ago, but if you look at Cheslin Colby's Instagram, for example, everything in the last week has been him in Cape Town. So, for example, if you go and check his Instagram right now, he posted a 5th of August. He got a story and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll wait and see what happens with Colby. But yeah, again, on Saturday he was in Cape Town with doing stuff for the box. So, and he's not training at the moment, from what I understand. But anyway, we got Lana Pineo that season. I hope you meant with Bosch, talking about Sharks fly half. Contender saying, why haven't they recorded late? Is the Red Sapphire? Wouldn't be the worst Sharks, you know. Contender said, I would back 4 Diago, 5 Master, give Etsy at the rest, maybe Dion Free at 16. I would low 20. I would try give Smith at 8 because we need a fetch and some athleticism off the back of the scrum. That wouldn't be the worst idea. What about Zaz coming in for the Argentina games, not in line to win the Rugby Championship? I don't think you'll see any new players in the squad. So I don't think we'll see, for example, Leon Zas coming into that squad for the Argentina, for example. You know, but look, we could be wrong, but I'd be very surprised if they start adding new players to that squad. So we will see on Tuesday for a team announcement for next weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at other, I mean, again, you'd see Fassi back, I think, before you see Leon Zas, for example. But we have to wait and see, won't we? I think it also depends on what the results are. If you go and beat Australia twice, for example, then I don't know if that gives you more or less license to rotate against Argentina. Because first of all, it means that we're very much in contention to win the Rugby Championship. If we were to win twice, we'd probably be top of the log. Even if New Zealand were to win twice, we'd probably be level on points, depending on bonus points, stuff like that, which means we'd have to beat Argentina. But at the same time, Argentina kind of presents the last genuine opportunity to rotate before the end of the tour. So there's lots of various different things going into it. Contender says one thing different about other coaches that when it comes to bringing back players to 23, they will be chucked straight into the side. I like being phased in through the bench. So with the Rassie Erasmus and the new coach staff have generally done that, and I said so, and people didn't believe me, and then Drake Miriam started, and then we started. We do start players because the thinking is if things go badly, you could take them off, and you've got an option. Whereas if you were to bring somebody off the bench and they're having an absolute mare, you can't replace them. So the last news before we wrap up today's show is that former UCT lock Gary Porter has signed with the Stormers ahead of the new season. He went overseas, was playing in the second league in England for the Ealing Trailfinders, and has now come back and joined the Stormers. John Dobson said the following about the lock and said, Gary has a high work rate, fit the type of game we would like to play, and we are looking forward to seeing him grow in our environment as we take on a very tough season, he said. Porter said that he is delighted to be back in Cape Town and is determined to make the most of the opportunity to represent the DHL Stormers. These are exciting times here, and I want to contribute to wherever I can within the system and grow as a player. Not blow your blow the door down type signing, but I think that they needed a lock. They lost a couple. And RJ Smith, for example, is a premier liability because he just does stupid things. Who would be your SAA match for 23 for the end of the tour? Do a selection show? Yeah, I think we should do that. Maybe we'll do that next week. No, we'll do that probably close to the time. I think we'll do that when we get this. So when the squad's announced for the end of the tour, then we'll do that. I hope this is true. Sometimes Stephen likes the fake news. Well, first of all, if you're gonna throw my name and slander my name, spell it correctly, by the way. There's no V in it. And second of all, I report the reports. I'm not sitting in the plane, so I can't tell you if Rassie Erasmus is there. So that's the whole point of this news show, is to tell you what's going on in the news. And in the news, it is being reported that Rassie Erasmus is traveling. It's kind of what this news show is about. We will only confirm fact when they are factuals. So that's what I said. So the reports are that he's going. So we'll have to wait and see training pictures and stuff like that, or when we see photos of them departing, maybe. But hopefully we'll have confirmation of exactly where he is with the squad. Appreciate you for playing my name right. Alpha Lunkin says, late for the chat, sorry. Go Block. I hope this time we get back to Australia with a double win. Yeah, so the team announcement will be on Tuesday. So Monday will be the usual selection debate show. And then Tuesday we'll obviously have the team announcement. We'll have a video out there. Then we'll have a live show reacting to it. We will have press conferences. Hopefully next week they are going to be doing some virtual stuff. So we hopefully will have all that... we'll have all that sort of stuff and reaction there next week. Obviously, we will have all the Australian stuff. So that will be up next week, and then we'll hopefully have as much press conference stuff as we get access to. Obviously, I can't afford to go to Australia. There are enough members for that. If we were to suddenly bring in like 1,000 members, then maybe we could go to Australia next year. Wouldn't it be a tour or the World Cup next year? But until then, we can't. People, keep safe, keep well. Chat to you guys all soon. And please do smash like on the video and subscribe.